Present.
Daniel Gray is here. Ron McDaniel.
Present.
Jim Moore here. Dina Tomey.
Here.
LaTonda Watson.
Here.
100%. All right, if you will join me as we stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. Aaron, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. First thing we have on our agenda this evening is our staff recognitions. Dr. Duffy.
Thank you. We have another round of Brag on a Titan recognitions for this month. And just a reminder, these are monthly, and recipients will receive multiple nominations from staff. Now, to recap, I didn't have the pictures last month, so now I have them, so we'll recap December quickly for last month's recipients. So those three we had last time in middle school and high school, so that was December. So now for January, we have Mr. Brandon Weems, and I don't think he's here tonight. He's assistant principal at Pinewood, and he was recognized for his service and some things that the staff said about him. At Pinewood. And one thing in the other nominations is a great mentor to our scholars. Very kind. So he's done an outstanding job there. All right. Miss Soloria Fields, I think she's here. Come on up. Got your speech ready? Got your speech ready? So Miss Fields at Taylor Elementary, and here's some things that I love the comment. She's the mother of the teachers and scholars. I love that. Celebrates everyone's achievements. Spends lots of time with teachers and helping them, and just many comments, especially from first-year teachers, about how she helps them plan lessons and help our scholars in class. She was very surprised when we came to campus. Damian Penn and Dupree, I don't think he was able to be here this evening. And, a picture with his scholars and some of the things people said about him. And several comments were from first-year teachers on how he helps them and guides them through their first year. Apparently, he's a go-to person for a lot of advice with the staff. Okay. Three. And now we have Deborah Walters. I think she's here. Jacksonville Middle School. Come on up, Ms. Walters. And some of the things people said about her, and she's a leader in the school, and takes initiative and helps where needed. In the responses that I saw, just lots of respect for her from her colleagues at the middle school. So, anything you want to say? And Captain James Warren. ROTC. When we got there, they were in the middle of filming videos on the cadets reading books to, I think, our pre-K and kindergarten students. Videos for different books they had purchased. video reads, and there's some things that staff said about Captain Warren. I like that last one, wingman and a leader. I like that last one. And just lots of things that have happened with the ROTC program, improvements, and cadets getting more involved, and his leadership has made a difference for that program in our scholars. So anything you want to say, Captain Warren?
Always, sir. I'm thankful to be able to represent our cadets and Sergeant Williams and our high school, and so appreciate the opportunity to get in front of you, and appreciate all of your support.
Thank you, Captain Warren.
Duffy, we want to get a group photo.
We can, Amy, since the newspaper's not here, we can see it in, if you get a group photo of them. Hang on. Hang on, Mr. Pearson. Yep.
Is that it? Is that all? Okay.
That's it. I'll get it. Send it in.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate y'all. Congratulations. All right, next item on the agenda is our budget publication for school election. I see Mr. Beardsley's joined us this evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Little,
This is one of those things that doesn't pass the common sense test, but you have to do it anyway. So what you have before you is a proposed budget for the years 22-23 that you are not bound by. But under the Arkansas Constitution, you have to give the voters notice of what is coming on the 21 ballot, where you are asking them to approve your existing millage. The outcome of that election does not matter, because if your millage is defeated, it will revert to the 2020 approved millage. So we're going to go through this process because it is required, and we're going to do it correctly, but there is no impact on the district. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about that. I will tell you there's been a bill filed that does away with this requirement, but it would require a constitutional amendment. So we don't know if it'll be one of the three amendments the legislature refers to the general population in 2022. But until that time, this is what you do every year, 60 days or more before the election.
all right. Any questions for Mr. Beardsley? If not, I would entertain a motion. We'll move on page 6. We need to read it out loud, or we're just good there?
As long as it's in your minutes, correct.
Okay. We got a motion? Second. And a second, and a third? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously.
All right, the second item does not require board action, but wanted to give you a very short update on where we are with bond financing. We've been working with Dr. Duffy on the voter-approved bonds. If you remember, several years ago when we started this process, the district had plans to borrow money in March of 21. So it's time now for us to begin to put those bid documents together. The district is going to net out approximately $15 million for construction in this next series. And Dr. Duffy believes that that will be enough to carry you through this time next year on the existing elementary and middle school projects. So there's no board action required. We are sending an updated letter to the Department of Ed because some of their documents have to be refreshed. And so we are doing that on your behalf. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but other than that, it's just an informational item.
All right, any questions for Scott while we got him?
See, I'm short and easy tonight.
Yeah.
I will tell you that if interest rates hold where they are, obviously they're lower than 2 years ago when we started this process. So eventually, when we get all the bonds issued over the next 4 or 5 years, If there's any net savings, it will be to your benefit, but we're not planning on any of that until we get everything constructed and locked into place. So I'll be working with Dr. Duffy. We'll be back at your next board meeting to present the bids and have closing documents to be signed. So thank you.
Thanks very much, we appreciate it, sir. All right, next item, we got facilities update. Who wants to go first? Mr. TC?
I'll get her to talk to. There you go. Well, good evening, good to see everybody again. I'll start out by telling you that we're currently on the middle school project. We're still on schedule for having school ready to start in August. We've been kind of enjoying the fact that we really have not had winter yet. I hope it stays away, but we're making a lot of progress out there. Our current mission out there, if you've driven by lately, and I know you have, our mission now is to get all that Pepto-Bismol pink covered up with brick and wall panels and stuff. We've got we think we've gotten the issue resolved with our brick supply. You know, we had that issue a couple months ago where they shut down the plant because of COVID. And so anyway, I think we're past that. We've got most of that brick on. If it's not on the site, it's at the yard. We got a bunch of the field brick that's going to show up this week out there. So they're pressing on the exterior of the building. We've got middle school is pretty much watertight. We've got the roof on it. We've got a lot of the storefront, curtain wall material, a lot of the doors, and almost all the windows in the facility now. It looks really, really good. When the weather's permitting, we're trying to do all the masonry work on the outside, and on those bad, nasty days, they're working on the inside too, so we're making progress there. Hanging a lot of drywall and finishing a lot of drywall on the inside. We got temporary heat on that building, and today, we got some switchgear and stuff that they're working on so we can get on to the permanent power. Right now, they're running on the generator on some of the temporary heat, but we're doing painting in there, first coat of paint all over the place. We got a lot of the ceilings, exposed ceilings that are painted. A lot of stuff going on in there. We should have the kitchen cooler and freezer show up here within the week, and they'll start the installation of that and involved with the kitchen equipment. Just a lot of things going on in there, a lot of work. I think when I pulled up today, they had already checked in about 146 people or so, and that was like at 10 o'clock. So we got a lot of crews on that job site, and so far it's going really well. On the exterior also, we got most of the driveway and parking area on the south side, and on the west side, we'll have to move some things to do the work with the drive and all on the front here in the coming months. But all in all, everything's going really well there. Like I said, we're still on schedule to turn that over. We're going to try to get you guys in the building before we turn it over, so you can do your work like you planned on. But right now, we're still on schedule to have school there this fall. Switching gears to the elementary school. First thing you ought to notice if you drive by there, we got rid of those pine trees. Okay, and I noticed I don't want to make enemies, but there was an issue with that, and most of those trees are outside the property line, but they were also right in the vicinity of a major water line that feeds the neighborhood and surrounding area that we didn't want to break. And it's already been broken once, I think, by Entergy, and make that. But anyway, those are gone now. We got those taken care of last week, so that's out of our hair. Outside, we're trying to get the building buttoned up as best we can. We've got the roof decking on it. They've got most of the second floor or the two-story area enclosed. We still got to get some windows. We got looking for delivery time on the windows there and try to button that up. They're not anywhere close to having everything airtight right now, but we're working that way. They're working on the exterior framing, go all the way around there, and then we got quite a bit of block work that's got to go in before we get that building in the drive. But a lot of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing going on the inside. A lot of rough ends starting to frame up the interior walls. So they're a couple months behind the middle school. We're still looking at turning that over sometime in October. So everything's going well there. We're not having any issues with any suppliers at the moment. in the last couple of weeks, we bid the landscaping package that would encompass both facilities. All that came in well under budget. I'm happy to report, we had a really comprehensive plan and eyeball meeting with our bidders. So, I mean, we hope not to have any issues with landscaping, and should have that. It's got to happen to where it doesn't impact opening the middle school. Okay, so we got that section up that's got to go, which that's most of the site back, but still that'll get in place long before we finish up with different components for the elementary. All that's going well. Not having any issues that I'm aware of. We have the occasional, somebody tests positive, we send people home, we fumigate, we do whatever we gotta do, and then we're back to business the next day. So let's, we're dealing with that, but, so far, everything's going really well. If we get some more decent weather, I think, we'll really get some stride when it warms up just a little bit.
I think we can all relate to that, sending people home, quarantining, all that good stuff. It's a daily occurrence, so.
You know, it's part of what
Questions
we do.
for, TC on the board?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Ask you about something at the high school here. Underneath the football stadium, under the seats, there are 2 storage rooms with heavy metal doors on them. They will not shut, they will not lock, and we have some high-value equipment in those rooms underneath the stadium.
Doors are just,
They won't close, they're just, you can open them without, can't lock them.
I'll get somebody to check
The
that out.
latch that secures one of them, one of them's got the doorknobs, the other one is not. The latch that secures the one on the left of the double door will not lock up there. So you can't shut the other door and lock it.
Okay.
It looks like it's either off balance or something.
Okay, I have William, somebody come out there and check that out here the next day, so I'm not, there's no concrete underneath that building, nothing should have settled. I mean, that's on drill piers.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have stuff like that from time to time,
A lot of our track equipment is under there, brand new equipment that the school that we bought,
Okay.
being stored out there until the weather gets better. So
but, yeah, we have to go with that, so you have.
I appreciate it.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Mr. Eldon.
Members of the board, I really don't have much for you today. We're pleased with the construction, how the property is shaping up, how the buildings are related to each other. I'm here to answer any questions, or if I don't have the answer, I'll go back and get it. So if y'all have anything for me.
I have something, actually.
Yes, sir.
Before we get everything finished in the new elementary school, I'd like to make sure that we don't have urinals and the places where the scholars wash their hands way up high, where it's low enough for the elementary, before all that gets put in.
Yes, sir.
If
Well,
you take
those-
care of that, you, PC,
And we can triple check that for you,
Okay.
because I noticed that was an issue on the Lester. So the funding roughing is in, so we'll make a special walkthrough to make sure that those are proper.
okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Very good. Thanks, sir. All right, we appreciate y'all joining us. Good to see y'all. Keep on keeping on. All right, next item we got is Superintendents Report.
Yes, sir, I have several things to go through this evening. Just a few items of interest. First of all, current enrollment, and 3,727 students K-12. You got the pre-K number there. That is current enrollment as of this morning. And also with enrollment, we broke it down, wanted to get numbers for on-site and virtual, give you an idea. Definitely we're more heavy on virtual scholars. That's as of last week.
Can you back one slide, Dr. Duffy?
Back up?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. gives you the trend. Of course, heavier in secondary on first right now. Those schools. That's where we stand on enrollment by school. Also, I wanted to give you an update on the school climate survey. And I had a couple of inquiries, so I asked 3 questions of our contact, and there are the answers there on the reports, and if the consultant will meet with us. And so the person that's willing to do a session, if you want to do a board work session on the survey with this person, and they would do that at no additional cost, but if you wanted more, there would be additional cost. So I just want to throw that out if that's something you want to discuss.
I think we each got a stack about that high at the last board meeting of the survey. I don't know about y'all, but I haven't had a chance to go through all that yet. And I think the work session with somebody to kind of give us a summary would be a good idea. Anybody disagree with that?
I agree.
So
I think at the high school, certainly, I've got them all lined up there, I think one at a time. And we do need a work session because there's some stuff in there that we need to discuss.
So, yeah, so let's not get into it this evening, but I think the answer, I didn't see anybody disagree with that. So if we could pursue with them and then maybe coordinate some scheduling with the board or whatever their schedule is like, and then.
Sure, yes, and she's on it'll be Zoom, she's on the East Coast, so
Okay,
we would accommodate that.
we could do it. We could do a Zoom workshop amongst ourselves too. I mean, we could all Zoom, if that's.
Sure, we could do it that way
That'd be just as easy, I think.
as well. You want to do any dates now, or just throw out a few later?
I think if you'll just send an
Okay.
email out, we can kind of coordinate that way, like, that good?
Okay.
Mondays and Wednesdays seem to be the good nights, Mondays preferably.
Right, for the most part, that seemed to be the trend. That's
So,
why.
does she have, is there a template or, I guess, or the rubric or however, whatever the template is of what she's gonna be providing us, so.
No.
Breaking down the categories based on the surveys, how would that be broken down? I guess just
I do not know.
okay,
She did not go into that at all. What you have is pretty much what that generates. And you could do other reports by dimension, but it's going to be essentially the same format that, at least from my conversation with her. So what specifically are you wanting to know, and I can ask?
well, I guess, to just Jan's point of, we definitely can't go through all the documents that we've had, in a reasonable amount of time. But taking that and grouping it based on the different categories and questions. So would that be a compiled list of, answers, or however the survey was done based in categories? It just needs to be an easier read.
Right.
Than
Well,
going through. How would she compile it?
You may not get an easier read, that's possible. You did get a copy, I think it was for each school, an item summary, every question and what the average score, median score was for each question on that scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And at least in my brief conversation with her, it's been Amy and I about 30 minutes or so. There's not, as far as any template, there's nothing beyond that I was aware of, but I can find out if there's anything else
Okay.
that will give a framework.
And that would be great, but I mean, based on what you all have discussed, that would be a great
Okay.
start for us.
Okay. All right, I'll work on that and give you information. Okay. Next thing, of course, I reached out, I sent a message about this in a board work session with legislators, if you would like some time with our area legislators. A few responded saying they could better give an answer if we did have a date and time, so I can do the same thing, send out some dates and see what works, and then whichever ones can come, they come. And so I didn't hear from all of my email and message about 7 or 8, and we just go from there. If you're still interested in wanting to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Is it gonna be in person or online?
whatever y'all's pleasure is.
If we could do that one in person, I think that would be great.
Okay?
But if it's easier to do it on Zoom, then
Yeah,
so be it.
I think it'd be either way, but I can find out. All right, so. Okay. I want to draw your attention to House Bill 1237, just because school calendar's on the agenda tonight. Just want you to be aware that that's pending out there. We haven't really discussed it in depth in our admin legislative committee. And the initial reaction from several of my colleagues is, well, we like the part about the instructional hours, but, you know, maybe on this start date, maybe, you know, there's some who don't like that and some who do like that. But if it's passed, it will be effective with this calendar. So if that passes, and it's signed and all that, we have to do an amendment to our calendar at some point. We've been instructed for now, because of law, and some districts approve calendars in December, in January, to go ahead and do our calendars, and then we'll see what happens here. The interesting thing about the instructional hour component is if you structured your day instead of a 6-hour instructional day, which is the minimum required, if you structured it, let's say 6.5 hours or 6 3/4, then that backs up your last day of school, because it's based on 1,068 instructional hours, which is 178 times 6, which is the current standard. As long as you do a minimum of that, if this passes, then you can structure your calendar differently upon approval of Department of Ed. So you could lengthen your day a little bit and shave off a few days at the end.
This would push us to a week, starting school a week later than we have it scheduled for on the calendar, right?
I didn't look at specific dates, but whenever the Monday,
Yeah.
before Labor Day, so this one may do it.
Actually, it's 2 weeks,
Yes,
2 weeks.
yes. For the most part, it would be. It might be a week depending on when the 19th falls, but also in this bill, no waivers could be applied for. They'd be prohibited for anybody. You couldn't get an earlier start date.
Charter schools included,
Yes, they're public schools. So anyway, we'll see.
like 3 weeks.
This was discussed last session, just never got off the ground. I knew about the instructional hour piece, but we'll just see how that goes. Never go over a lot of discussion. Okay, vaccine update. Here's where we are. We just got the email just 10 minutes ago for the second round for those who got the Pfizer vaccine January 18th. We'll get that out for those specific folks, either later tonight or first thing in the morning to schedule their appointment. There's the numbers. I do not have numbers for UAMS because people did that on their own. They did not coordinate. There was no school-specific clinic. So I'm trying to get a number from our folks just to see how many went. And possibly if everyone on the survey went last week, 180 went there. We had a total of about 350 staff who wanted the vaccine. That was running 55–56%. So that means there's about another 40 to 50 I don't have it counted for here, who may have gotten it on their own. Several did. They went to a pharmacy, took care of that on their own. But yet the pharmacies have had a hard time getting the vaccine as well. But that's where we are on our vaccine update. We're standing. All right, ESSER funds. Wanted to just briefly go through this. I know we talked about it in general, but so that you're aware that we've had 2 rounds. We just got the second allocation. Those are the funding categories that it can be spent for. And the new category for ESSER 2 is facilities, but it's very specific. So I can't use the money and pay Baldwin Shell for part of that building and all that. So that's not how it works. But it's specific to HVAC and improvements, and it's unclear whether it can be used for new construction or it has to be just remodeling of existing buildings. So Dr. Stein's chasing that down for us. There are specific program codes that have to be used, and only for those specific things. So there's our first allocation. We have a remaining balance of $326,000. in ESSER 1. So I've got Kevin and Kevin looking to see what remaining things, maybe technology-wise, and PPE, or cleaning-wise, that we need. State really prefers we spend these ESSER 1 funds before going to the next one, but you could if you wanted to. It just makes it easier to get rid of the first amount first before you go on to the next. Then, of course, the next amount's 5.4 million, roughly, that we have, and that has to be spent by December 2023. First round by December 2022. So anyway, so we haven't really, we thought a little bit about the 5.4, but we haven't delved deeply on what to plan for that. I know Dr. Bowman will have some ideas, I'm sure, for learning activities and curriculum and those types of things.
She's used to an unlimited budget anyway.
Oh, that's exactly right, she is. So that's where we stand on ESSER funds right now.
So Dr. Duffy?
Yes.
Where would the ESSER funds show up, like in our financial?
Okay, in
report?
your financial report, ESSER 1 is 6780 on your board report. That's the fund number. 6780 is in federal funds. Then whenever we budget ESSER 2, that's 6781. That first change in fund balance report is all the different balances. So 6780 should be it may say CARES, it's possible it might say CARES Act. That's the same thing.
Okay.
So that'll show you the balances.
CARES reimbursement.
Right, CARES
Okay.
reimbursement, those things. Okay, so that's where we are. And that's all I have. Probably enough.
Any questions for Dr. Duffy on this report? Dr. Ball?
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's another awesome day to be a Titan. The first day of love of the month for January, for February. I'm excited about it. So in the report, and I think Dr. Duffy has it on the slides, that he put the slides up for the data related to. One of the things that we are extremely proud of that's happening, and we're seeing it happen across schools, but this is the sum total of all of our schools, is our discipline trending downward. And this is not just because of COVID. As you can see, it was happening each year. It's going down in every category. And so there's a link to that for the electronic copy that you sent if you want to go in more detail. But that is one of the things that we are monitoring closely in our district leadership team meetings, and thought we would share with you today. An additional thing, after you get past the discipline data that we're talking about, is how is this happening? So PBIS is one of the initiatives that we have in our district that we talk about on multiple occasions. So we formed a PBIS team in which we go through and we monitor to see what of the big rocks that we put in place can we see at a glance in our buildings. So our PBIS team just hits the buildings with our little instrument, and we take a little survey to see what's going on. And so I wanted to share some of the data with you on that as well. When you look at the percentage of our staff that when we went through these walks, just a snapshot of the building, who were actively monitoring student behavior and who were really paying attention to what was going on and responding appropriately, we had almost 70% each time we went. And it's actually over 70% if you add that 67.7 plus 19.4. And you do that math in your head. So the red is the best, and then the yellow is good as well. Moving on to our next point. Yes, ma'am.
Acronym breakdown of PBIS.
Positive behavior intervention support system.
Okay,
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So, and then the implementation of the procedures by the scholars. This one is really important because it's without the teacher having to really do anything. This is where the scholars know the behaviors so well that they're doing it on their own. And we are getting, I like the growth that we're seeing here as compared to what we've seen in years past, so we want to share that data with you as well. And I need a correction in my report on the save the date on page 13 for the high school. We have down May 5th for graduation. That is incorrect. There's a 1 missing from that. It's May 15th. The graduation, projected graduation is May 15th.
we have an update from Jack Stevens, or is that, we're still kind of in, that's not gonna happen?
It doesn't appear to be that that's going to happen. It looks like we're going to be on the high school football field, which is exciting, as long as it doesn't rain. And our inclement weather site is going to be a repeat of what we did earlier. We'll have multiple ceremonies. So we've got plan A and B, and we're gonna be ready for both of those plans. We can get it done on the high school football field, that would be the best. You have my report. Are there any other questions? I know there was something else Mr. Ward asked me to make sure that I mentioned, because it was left off as well, the hub data. So we have currently 37 active students in 9 through 12 hub at our ALE, with 2 pending placements at the ALE for 9 through 12. There are 27 currently enrolled, and 15 currently enrolled in the ALE 6 through 8. In my next report, I'll be sharing with you the map data that we have, as well as what are our plans for moving forward with our virtual for next year.
Dr. Brown, and if you click on this link, will it break down, grades or schools?
Yes, ma'am. There's a link in your report that will take you to the complete discipline report. I think it was emailed to you in advance. Yes, ma'am. And it had all the breakdown.
Okay.
Any information on the testing
But
for
testing,
April?
for April, as far as we know, we're still on. We're still on.
There's an initiative, I think, Bill, to eliminate the grade scores. Is that something that you want to do?
That passed through the House to delay, to have basically a delay, a 1-year delay, and get made it readiness for schools. It's gotta go to the Senate.
The thing they haven't backed off of, but we wish they would, is the 95% testing. But that's not backed off. They expect 95% of the students to be tested. The pushback that our organizations are given is that we can't make people bring their kids to school. The kids who are virtual, that's been our hardest thing, is having them come to school for testing, because it's mandated that they are on site for that state testing.
I know this is like way off, but do we have, as far as prom expectations, are we planning on a prom?
We are not. We actually checked with the Department of Health, and that's a no-go. That's a non-starter. So there are no prom expectations this year. Again, sorry. I'm not.
I'd like to compliment.
Dancing is out. Yes, sir?
I'd like to compliment your report also, on page 19, talk about out-of-school suspensions, recent year. If you go back to 2016, 17, we had 1,352. 2019, 20, 620 in one of the categories, and it's really dropped.
It is, and I'm going to attribute that to the leadership in the buildings, as well as just the systems that have been put in place that teachers are following and that scholars are following, and it's just catching on and it's getting better every single year. Mr. Smith pulled me that this morning for a report that I'm doing for one of our had previously been our highest discipline school, and the numbers are staggering how much the discipline has gone down. So we're really excited about the trends that we are seeing in that area. So once you get that under control, there's so much more you can do there.
I think the ALE has anything contributed?
I think the ALE certainly helps in having those systems in place. We've got the ALE at Bobby G. Lester for our elementary scholars, and then we have our ALE obviously over here that Mr. Gray's going to give us. That was a joke, people. Go ahead.
I like the recognition awards at the high school for those map testing, the achievement and recognition, let's keep the students inspired and encouraged. So anything we can do, I think, to help them, give them some incentive academically. And then also on those 33 student improvements, that's great. Even though we didn't get the others to test, then any incremental gains academically, I think is great for the district.
You know, I'm glad you said that. The funny thing that's funny to me when I listen to that team talk about it, the scholars are working for Takis. I didn't even really know what a Taki was, but apparently it's a thing. Am I right? That's what the kids are, they ask the scholars, what do they want? Like when they're coming in to get the work done, and then if they achieve what they want, one of the things they want is Takis or hot chips, you know, whatever kind of hot chips are there. So, you know, high school students working for Takis, we can do it. You know, we're just gonna keep on giving you those Takis, just keep on coming.
About the hot chips?
Hot chips.
Oh, they love them.
Apparently they do. It's a thing. It's a real thing. But what we do with that data is we consistently monitor it, and those scholars who are not making gains, we have to change their intervention. because that individual is not working for them. It's just- We've got more scholars who return to campus this time, who are on that list, so we've got to start working on them as well. Yes, ma'am.
And I see Kevin in the room, so that's why I'm asking this question. But in regards to like Chromebooks and where are we with, technology?
I love that, ask that question again, I love that question, come on, Kevin.
Sorry, Kevin.
Everyone in the room wants to know this answer.
Yeah, so, because of supplies and demands, the distributors keep telling us every about 3 or 4 weeks out. And, they always push it back. But we're seeing actually new products coming in faster than the old product. So, every 6 to 8 months is when things change. So we are seeing an uptick, but they're trying to backfill all the orders now. But we are seeing an increase in all the new stuff quickly. I ordered a couple laptops a couple weeks ago, and it only took about 2 weeks to get in. So it's the really big order that they're trying to fulfill. And I was joking a little bit with Dr. Dempsey, because we've ordered 2 sets of Chromebooks, 2 sets of 1,000, and I think they're going to come in at the same time. So we ordered, 1 set in Jan, and we ordered 1 set in November, and I think around, hopefully, maybe the end of this month, we'll get it. So, but yeah, we're just.
How are the scholars taking care of them, the ones that are virtually at home?
I think it's normal. So for the past, we kept the data for the past 2 years of damages and repairs, and Dr. Bowman actually requested that last week. So right now we're pretty much on par with what we've done. The only thing that is hard for us is we see a lot of the damages during the summer, and it's kind of like a surge. But so far, yeah, everything's been consistent the last couple of years.
And my last question about that is, internet service, broadband service for those that are in some of our hard spot areas, the rural areas, how's that coming along for those
I
guys?
think so far they've had them monetized and they have them available to the students after school. And so they've been handing them out at the schools when they request them.
District-wide, I've heard complaints from 2 scholars exactly who cannot use the Wi-Fi because of their locations, because they don't have a cell tower where they are. So, I mean, obviously, we have no control over that. Dr. Duffy has been busting a few, like, we gotta do something about all these hotspots we still have. Well, we're pushing them, if you need one, just let us know, and we've been giving them out to the public. But we have some still left, and whenever someone needs them, our schools are good.
Very good. Thank you very much. Dr.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, next item we got is consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled down for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So move.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Hazard mitigation plan resolution, Dr. Duffy.
Yes, it's on page 46, and this deals with the Central Arkansas Planning and Development District. This has really been worked on probably for 2 years, and the counties that are served by this entity have received approval for their FEMA plan, and they'd like us to be a participant, which means if there's any major disaster that happens, we qualify for grants to help recover from those disasters. So I recommend adoption of the resolution as presented.
Got a recommendation? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion?
Dr. Duffy, we have a representative on this, or will it be you, or on the mitigation? Who will be representing the district?
Well, you think, if I communicated there's a board or something that I'm serving on with this, no, that's not the case. It's just, if something happens, then we're part of this plan where we can apply for grants. But as far as any meetings or any group, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
If I'm understanding what you're asking.
Yeah, well, they're talking about, they have a director, so someone manages program. in our district.
Right.
Okay.
It's a requirement by FEMA. All right, any other questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that passes.
And,
Next, we-
Amy will get signatures after we meet.
Yes, sir. Technology inventory deletion.
Yes, it's on page 49 and 50. Kevin can attest to this. We have some very old items that are way past its life in the warehouse. Very old, of those flat. And we need to dispose of them and recycle. And so I recommend approving the inventory deletion. These were inherited items from what I understand.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. There's a Pulaski County Special School District joke in there somewhere, but I'll refrain.
There's y'all tag numbers there.
They got us.
All right, COVID leave policy, or excuse me, I'm sorry, school calendar 21.
School calendar, page 5152. This was the draft sent about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. PPC voted to endorse this draft. Also puts those 2 days right after Christmas break as discussed in the work session. I recommend approval as presented.
All right. Good recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
All right, got a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, COVID leave policies.
Yes, page 53. This is for licensed and classified. And same draft that shared prior, a few weeks ago or so, maybe a little over. And integrates ASBA language and a couple of other policies that District or 2 also have. And PTC has reviewed, they endorse the policy as well. So I recommend adoption as presented.
All right, we've got a recommendation from Dr. Duffy on that. Do I have any questions or do I hear a motion? Got a motion to approve as recommended.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Bus driver sign-on bonus.
Yes, starts on page 58, well, yes, page 58. And as said last month, we are hemorrhaging for bus drivers. And so very similar to what we did for special education is something similar for bus drivers, as you see on page 58. I would ask if you adopt this, that be adopted effective immediately, and we will implement.
It does include all the current bus drivers.
That is correct.
All right. Got a recommendation here? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
We got a motion from Ms. Coleman, second from Ms. Tony. Any discussion or questions?
Motion.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yes, effective
Okay.
yesterday, but anyway, we can't do that.
Okay, yes, effective immediately. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, that passes. And my understanding is we do not have any disciplinary action, or we do?
We do not, we'll skip over that.
Next item on our agenda is personnel, and I would recommend any discussion on personnel has to be held in executive session. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
Yes.
All right, got a motion to move into executive session. We will move into executive session and for the purpose of discussion of personnel. We shall resign.
All right.
So gentlemen.
Hang on.
Okay, I'll be back.
Yes, ma'am, I'm fine. Yeah, you think I was rushing? Walking up them dang steps. You walking up those steps, cause they're gonna, make no difference. Amy, I got something for you.
A lot of kids play.
It's not a gift day.
89.
All right, we are back in open session. Dr. Duffy, personnel recommendations, sir.
Yes, sir. It's on page 60, you have a listing of retirements and resignations. And I recommend, and job abandonment, and I recommend that you accept those as presented.
All right, got a recommendation to accept these as presented. Do I hear a motion? And a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next recommendation, there's a listing of all licensed employees that are eligible for contract renewal. That's quite a list, a few pages, and I recommend that these employees have their contracts renewed for the 21-22 fiscal year.
I move to accept the licensed personnel employee renewal for 21-22.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I see one more item on here. Do I hear?
Make a motion to extend the contract of Superintendent Duffy to June 30, 2024.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. All right. I don't see anything else on here.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
See y'all next
Ms. Hammer, you
time.
need signatures?
Does she need all of them, Dana? All of us, or y'all? That's your paperwork we was due yesterday. Dan, you going down there tomorrow?
I'll let you know. If not, I'll go Wednesday morning, because I'm off Wednesday. So if y'all need me to take it, just get it